John Metchie traded to the Philadelphia Eagles for Harrison Bryant. Bang. Just kidding. Not a huge trade, but let's talk about it, man. If you've been following the Texans closely, you know that this was coming. John Metchie gets traded to the Eagles, yet another Texans pick going to the Eagles in exchange for an Eagles player. Let's just start talking about the John Metchie side of things first. Obviously, this tells you that John Metchie was their lowest receiver on the board, at least on the fringe of making the roster. If the Texans decide to keep seven receivers, it'll be Nico Collins, Christian Kirk, Noel, Higgins, Watson, which is five, Barrios, and Hutchinson. So that's seven. Metchie would have been that eighth receiver. For a little brief moment, I did wonder if they would maybe keep Metchie over Barrios, but then Barrios can return punts. Maybe Metchie over Watson, but it's obvious that D'Amico really likes Watson. Watson's also 6'4" and just a bigger bodied receiver. So ultimately, the Texans decide that Metchie is the odd man out and they ship him out. From the Texans' point of view, I mean, it makes sense if this guy's not even going to make your roster and just sit on the practice squad where another team can scoop him up, then yeah, ship him off, get something in return. John Metchie, the second round pick from Alabama, never really panned out for the Houston Texans, never really fully developed into who us Texans fans wanted him to be. When I think of the most memorable John Metchie moments, I think about the touchdown catch in the Lions game, and I think about him fumbling on the first offensive snap against the Chargers in the playoff game last season. So that was kind of the John Metchie experience. I mean, very rarely would you get flashes. You'd more often get drops or just uninspiring looking plays, especially for a second round pick. And we all understand that he did go through cancer, did have chemo treatment. So look, the whole locker room is on his side. I am on his side, not trying to bash him, but football wise, never really panned out. And so, yeah, if you're the Texans, you have a loaded receiver room. Why not trade him? Let's talk about who the Texans got in return. Harrison Bryant. Harrison Bryant is a tight end who was drafted by the Browns, played there for maybe four-ish, five-ish seasons, went to the Raiders last season, and then was signed by the Eagles, and then obviously now traded to the Texans. So he never played a snap for the Eagles. Harrison Bryant has 10 touchdowns in his NFL career, was drafted in 2020. He is literally Irv Smith. Irv Smith was drafted in 2019 as a second round pick, Harrison Bryant a fourth round pick, but their production numbers are like pretty much the same. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that like Nick Casario won this trade or anything. The trade makes sense for both teams. Metchie probably has more potential than Bryant, but when you have a loaded receiver room, you don't have time to figure out if he's going to be anything, especially when you've spent 4 years with him already. So yeah, you bring in another body. I think this guy is really here to challenge Irv Smith's spot. Obviously, Brevin Jordan has a crushing season-ending injury again, which is why you go for a tight end. And so yeah, Harrison Bryant, I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's going to dress out for majority of the games. He did not start very many games in his career, all things considered. Yes, he has 10 touchdowns, but it's not like he's a starter starting every game. He is really here to flesh out that third tight end spot on the roster between him and Irv Smith. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. That's like pretty much the angle. Harrison Bryant, hopefully he makes this team. Then again, even if he doesn't, it doesn't really matter because Metchie wouldn't have made the team. Just a good trade for both ways. And I guess another angle, two other angles I'll talk about on this trade are one for Metchie. This is awesome, right? Metchie gets to go to a team where he probably can make the roster. I don't think the Eagles' room is as stacked as the Texans is, and obviously they're just coming off a Super Bowl, right? So you get to play for the ex-champs. They have a very good shot at making it again. It's a great organization over there. And then also just from like a GM perspective, I do know that the 49ers were the other team that were interested in trading for Metchie. I'm curious to see what that offer was. I don't know if it's reported. Obviously, it was reported to be lower than what Philadelphia offered. But, I mean, how much lower could you have gotten? I'm wondering if maybe like the 49ers would have thrown in if it was just a pick or a different player. Or if the Texans just decided, we want a tight end. We want to buff that, make that competition a little more exciting. So, yeah, I mean, the John Metchie era finally comes to an end. It does look like CJ Gardner-Johnson can now get his number 8 jersey back, which is pretty funny. You have to wonder if he's pulling the strings from behind. Just kidding. But yeah, the John Metchie era comes to an end. Obviously, not what we wanted to see from the second round pick, but wishing him the best in Philadelphia. And Harrison Bryant, you are a Texan, man. That third string tight end spot is yours for the taking. You just need to beat out Irv Smith, who had a good preseason game, by the way. Irv Smith had a good preseason game. So, like I said, he might not even make this roster, much less dress out. But it is what it is. Good trade for both teams. And yeah, that's really all I got on this one, guys. I will see you guys in the next one, man. Peace out.